Birria is the classic Mexican meat stew with a wonderfully deep and rich broth infused with warm aromatic herbs and spices that create an incredible depth of flavor. It's perfect for a cold winter day or a lazy Sunday because it's an all-day cook, but it's well worth the wait because everyone's gonna love it. So let's get started. For the chili sauce today, I'm gonna be using 4 different types of chili peppers. Most of which are going to be these Guajillo chilies. You could also substitute New Mexico chilies here. And they're going to add a lot of nice red pepper flavor and about a medium spiciness to the broth. I'm also using a couple of pasilla peppers or chile ancho. And those are going to have sort of a nice roasted chili flavor, but not going to add any heat to it. Now these guys, these chile de árbol, these are your fire, so you want to be careful how many you use. I like it pretty spicy, but if I'm sharing with a lot of people, I'll only add 3 or 4 of those. And finally, I'll use a little of this canned chipotle pepper just for a little smoky note. Now the first thing to do is to clean and rehydrate the dried chilies. So I'm simply going to clip the stems off, and then I'm going to open them up. Get rid of the seeds. Pull out the veins. And pretty much be left with just a nice, weird, leathery chili skin. That's alright, this is what I'm looking for. The chili anchos you can just kind of tear open and pull out that core. And again, just kind of dump the seeds out. Now my chilies are all de-seeded, deveined. I've also taken them over to the sink and give them a nice rinse because they're always kind of dusty. And I'm just going to drop them into this water that is just off the boil. I'll just kind of poke them all down in there, cover that up, and just leave it for at least 20 minutes to let those rehydrate. I don't need to put this back on the burner. It's plenty hot to do the job. I've got the rehydrated chilies. I'm going to do this in 2 batches, so I'll grab about half of those. I've got 5 tomatoes here, so I'll add about half of those. A couple of cloves of garlic. Woo! And I'm going to use a half an onion total, so I'll put in 1/4 of an onion. And then to get this started, I'll throw in about a half a cup of that chili liquid that I use for rehydrating those peppers. That's a little thick, so I'm going to use some water to thin this down, or I could use some more of that liquid from rehydrating the chili peppers. That looks good and nice and smooth. So now I'm going to strain this out. Sometimes the recipe calls for you to peel the tomatoes, but since I'm straining them out, I just don't think it makes any difference. And now I'm going to put this back into the blender and re-blend it with the second half. And that looks like I just about got the best of it. Yum. Now we'll add a couple nice pinches of salt to that. Stir that around. That's got some deep chili flavor. And it occurs to me that I forgot the chipotle pepper. That's okay, because it's already hydrated. I'll just throw a couple of them in there, and they'll just cook away into this as it goes. Oh yeah, that's it. Now what really separates birria from, say, chili is the unique and aromatic spice blend that goes into it. And you can go online and find countless different combinations for this. But what is kind of universal is some cumin, some cloves, and some bay leaf. But from there, it becomes really a sort of family recipe kind of deal. So here's what I'm going to be using today. Apart from a couple of tablespoons of cumin and about 5 whole cloves and the 2 bay leaves, I've got about a tablespoon of dried coriander. I've got a good tablespoon, a tablespoon and a half of Mexican oregano. I have a nice sprig of thyme. I've got about 5 or 6 allspice berries, and normally you would find some cinnamon stick in here, but I'm gonna mix it up and use a star anise pod. Also, you'll see I've got a little bit of dark chocolate in here, and that's very common in the recipe. And I could have ground up a lot of these things in the blender with the chili sauce, but I think my coffee grinder does a little better job of giving a nice even grind. So, apart from the bay leaves, thyme, star anise, and chocolate, I think I'm gonna go ahead and run all of the rest of this through my coffee grinder. Let's talk about meat. Birria is always gonna be made out of some big hunks of some nice tough or fatty meat that's gonna cook down real slow and become nice and succulent and tender. So any of your cuts of chuck, especially like a short rib, are gonna be absolutely delicious in here. But I prefer things that have a lot more cartilage and connective tissue. So I've got some nice trimmed beef cheek here. I've got some marrow bones and some nice big hunks of oxtail, and these got a lot of connective tissue and cartilage. Shanks also would be great here. Now let's build our birria. I'm gonna put my ground up spices into my sauce. Give that a nice stir. Boy, that smells great. Now, I'll take my big chunks of meat, and everything's in large chunks when you do this. Gives them a nice long slow cook, and I will dunk each one of these into that delicious chili sauce and kind of stack them up. I hope I can fit all this into the pot. Just barely. Great. And now I'll pour that chili sauce over there as well. Break the chocolate up around here. I'll stir that in. Now I'll put my thyme on top of there, my little bay leaves, and my 1 star anise pod. I'll also add a couple of nice big teaspoons of beef bouillon. And finally, you'll often see some vinegar added in here or some citrus juice, but I really like to just use some nice beer. So I'm going to top that off with a couple of cups of a nice imported beer. So I actually upgraded my pan size because I wanted to get the rest of my chili sauce in there and the rest of that beer in there. And so I got that going, and now I'm going to add a little more of that bouillon. I got a full 24-ounce beer in there now. And a nice big pinch of salt. So now I'm just going to bring this up to that really low simmer, put the top on, and go have fun for a few hours. So I'm about 4 hours into this simmer. Things are starting to get tender, but not quite there yet. Probably another 30 minutes. But I will scrape some of that fat that's collecting on the top, because I don't need all of that. And I've done this a couple of times already during the cooking, because there's a lot of fat in those cuts of meat. Take a look at this. Oh my. Oh my. Just take a look at the color of that broth. It is so dark, you can just tell it's super rich. Now let's see how we did. I've used a traditional garnish of some diced onion and some fresh cilantro, and I'm gonna go in and try to get a little bit of that bone marrow out of there. Oh, that looks good. And a nice hunk of that cheek meat. And of course, a good dose of that super, super rich broth. Oh man! That is incredible. The broth is so rich and full of beefy flavor and chili flavor, and you can taste all those aromatics in there too. It's really a complex, dare I say, mysterious broth. But it is absolutely great. The meat is tender, and it's just full of that collagen that just sticks to your lips and makes it literally lip smacking good. When your birria gets cold, if it turns to jello on you, you know you did it right. Well, this is incredibly delicious, served like a soup. However, oh man, that is just the best taco ever. A1, top of the taco heap. Whew, that's good. So, get yourself one of those nice cold imported beers and maybe a nice tequilazo and try this out for yourself. I know you're gonna love it. And if you do, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.